made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Dr. Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, MoveWell University, the Black Diamond Club, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Dr. Alok Trivedi, Universal Traction Systems, Vantage Point Marketing, Element Mattresses, Imaging Services, Zinget Solutions, Chiro Thin, Dr. Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, and Everest Chiropractic Bootcamp. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 59 of Chiro Hustle. I'm your co-host Luke Millette, and here's your man Jim Chester.
Hey everybody, so we just got a chance to interview Dr. Robert Silverman. He is not only one of the coolest people that you'll have a chance to interact with on our podcast, but he's also an Amazon 2-time bestseller.
And he's also funny.
Stay tuned. Dr. Silverman, what is your chiropractic story and what influenced you to become a chiropractor?
Well, my story is very unique to me in that I was born with something called congenital torticollis. And at the time when I was born in the 60s, there was nothing and still really nothing in the medical model. So it was tough. I grew up in a tough section of New York in the Bronx. And, a lot of people made fun of me, and there was a lot of beatings because they didn't know what I had. When I was 18 years old, I went to an elite pediatrician, and they gave my parents an option. They could cut my neck open and pull on the muscles, or I could go to a chiropractor. So I went to a chiropractor, and believe it or not, at that point, that chiropractor that I went to was probably the worst, the worst time I ever had with a doctor. It was just terrific. I played Division II walk-on college basketball. I injured my back. My roommate was the best player on the team, and he suggested I went to a chiropractor, and I did, man. I laid down on that table, and when I got up, the Mark Twain quote comes to mind every time. The two most important days of your life are the day you're born and the day you knew why. I knew when I got up, there was only one thing I wanted to be, and that was a chiropractor. And I just did all the prereqs after that, even though I was studying to be an accountant, and I've been rolling ever since.
That's pretty interesting. Do you remember your first? You said that it was pretty traumatizing to you. How did that transcend you getting back to the chiropractor as an elite athlete?
I got to tell you something. After that chiropractic, I think it was 2 or 3 times I went, and each time got worse. He didn't explain anything. It hurt like heck. He said I had to come for 6 months. It didn't look like I had a purpose. I did everything after that. I mean, every time I had an injury, I would go to a physical therapist. I was going to all these different things. And really, if it wasn't through my roommate's prodding to go to that chiropractor. And the fascinating thing about that chiropractor is that we're still friends. And that chiropractor is a patient of mine now.
Well, let's rewind just a hair here. And I know that you said that you were suffering with congenital torticollis. I know that there's people out there that aren't we don't just have chiropractors that listen to this. So what does that mean in normal people's language?
Congenital torticollis is a shortening of a muscle. It's called the SEM. And because that muscle is congenitally short, if you were to look at my neck, and when we go live, you'll see it. You'll see like a tight rope in my neck, and it pulls my neck to the same side laterally, almost like my ear's going towards my shoulder, and it twists my chin and head to the opposite side a little bit. So I look a little askew, if you will. I'm very fortunate that most people that have congenital torticollis have damage to facial structure, caved in skulls, cheekbones. I was lucky that wasn't the instance. It's just been this musculoskeletal thing. So it's always been my proverbial badge of honor. Also, because when people say I suffer from musculoskeletal things and I'm in pain, I can clearly relate to them because that's me every day of my life.
So I guess this is an off the topic question, but not. How often do you get checked and adjusted?
Well, that's a great question because we're all the worst patients in the world. Chiropractors, we do not get adjusted enough. But I get treated virtually every week because, as you know, Jim, I lecture. and there's always an outstanding, more than one, but there's always an outstanding chiropractor to different lectures, and I always get treated because I need to get treated, and I certainly need to get treated with the work schedule and the travel schedule. So almost every week.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, sometimes people like to get dialed in with one specific chiropractor. I was interviewing Pam Jarbeau a couple weeks ago, and she's like, yeah, I feel promiscuous when I go out and I don't get adjusted by my consistent chiropractor.
Well, then I'm a promiscuous chiropractor because I let somebody else treat me every week.
Me too, man.
Hey, you got to go with the flow, man. If it's there for you.
Yeah, there's never an adjust. I think Reggie Gold said it, he said that even the worst adjustment's a good adjustment or something, and he compared it to sex.
That's an interesting metaphor.
So, do you have any favorite quotes or mantras or inspirational words of wisdom that help you as a doctor?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I try and look at a quote every morning to motivate me even more and get my batteries running because, people are coming in and they're in pain and, sometimes their life has been changed adversely because of that pain. So I always go back to my mission statement. And that's the one that every day I walk in, even if the patient's there before me, which rarely happens, I always go in my room, close my door for a second, and I look at it, and my mission statement is really simple: creating health for future generations starting now. And as long as I stay true to that, I'm motivated every day. I mean, there's a million other ones. Norman Cousins is one of my favorite that I share with the doctors, in that the tragedy of life is not death, but what we let die inside of us while we live. So many times I run against doctors who have just lost their mojo. They've caved in and given up because of health insurance or complaining or whatever. And I'm just like, wow. I mean, you get the greatest job in the world. You get to help somebody. Occasionally you get paid and, you get to make a difference in people's lives and make the world a better place. How can you be down?
Hey, man, I think it was Les Brown that said this, that the greatest minds and the greatest thoughts are in one place. It's a cemetery.
That's a good one, too. I'll take it.
Because, most of the people that actually have ambition, they don't ever have the gumption to actually put it into action and make a movement with it and actually get her out of their own way to go out there and produce bigger than themselves.
Yeah, Jim Rome once said, knowledge, action plus knowledge equals power.
Hey, you can't go wrong with Jim Rohn either. Didn't he teach Tony Robbins?
He is, without question, Tony Robbins' mentor, for sure.
See, and that's one of the things that we talk about all the time is, on my lives with the students, I say, hey, who are your mentors? Who are you looking up to? Who's filling you up?
Agreed. I mean, it's always great to see everybody. It's an interesting thing, and I've been given the okay by the chiropractor who turned me on, and he came in, and he's pretty banged up, and like I said, he's a patient of mine, and I'm working on him. And he sat there and he said, Robert, it pleases me to no end to know that the student has passed the teacher, and that's what life's about. And anybody who's a mentor to anybody else, you should, like your child, you want them to do better. You just, you got to look at the standard and push forth. That's what you're supposed to do. It's funny, I used to live in the neighborhood where President Clinton was. And don't worry, I'm not getting political. And I said to him, what's the greatest day in your life? And, he's a 2-term president. He has a lot of achievements. And he said, I'm hoping today is. So, enough said.
Yeah, sometimes it's a day that you just choose to push on and to make that decision.
So you're also an author. What do you think the world would be like if more people read your book, Inside Out Health?
Well, if more people read my book, they would be more health conscious. They would know my Dr. Rob-isms, and they would all ask themselves and everybody they know, what have you done for your health savings account today? Because it makes people accountable and understand that we should all be concerned about fixing the body from the inside out. So many people are worried about their skin, how their skin looks. They're not understanding, as a great example, their skin is a barrier to toxins. So if everybody would read my book, I guarantee you they would take their health more seriously and really look at the body in a systemic manner and not a symptom manner. There's 12 to 14 systems in the body. There is thousands and thousands of symptoms.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting that you say that. You know, I come from Iowa, and one of the taglines I use when I'm scheduling people in for chiropractic visits, as I was going through that whole screening phase of my life, I'd tell people that people will sell the farm to keep a loved one healthy, and typically they sell the farm and the person still dies.
That's a good one. That is a good one, Jim.
It's true, man. When you come from like the corn belt of the United States, we're surrounded by corn farmers and hog farmers and soybean farmers, and it's a very rural platform there where people, there's still farmers out there. If you guys want to go meet a farmer, go to Iowa.
A lot of dairy farmers in Iowa and a lot of chiropractors.
Well, it is the fountainhead of chiropractic too, so it spilled over with a bunch of influence from the Palmer family back there in 1895.
D.D. Palmer and Harvey Lillard, a great, great story. Started the whole thing going.
Yeah, Dee was Canadian, right?
I didn't know that.
And here's another little twist. Here's another twist for you. Davenport, Iowa is on the Mississippi River, and it's the only section of the Mississippi River that runs east to west.
There you go. I'm going to share both those tomorrow with my chiropractic friend. That's a good one.
And it's all about polarity, and I think that's why Palmer started where it did.
Interesting. I guess you're from Davenport.
I lived there 30 years. Born in Iowa City. I can't steal thunder from Davenport for birthrights, but Iowa City, Iowa. My mom was up there watching a football game and went into labor, and she left Kinnick Stadium where the Iowa Hawkeyes play and went into labor while she was at the game, and right across the streets where she had James Thomas Chester.
Davenport's a spot, man. I go there every year to teach a seminar. I love my Davenport.
Hey, man, it's a rough little town, but it's beautiful. It has the undercurrent of hard work, and it has the first chiropractic school on planet Earth, so it's very special.
Yeah, no doubt. A lot of chiropractic history there, my friend. A lot of chiropractic history.
And let's turn it back to you a little bit, but what is possible in the future with what you are doing and accomplishing?
In the chiropractic profession in the next 5 or 10 or 20 years, I think, and we were talking a little bit about this, I think we're on the precipice of huge breakthroughs. We're seeing almost 15% of the population now. That's got to change. That is growing. You know what they say, the new big thing when you see, say, 15%, we're on the precipice. It looks like we have doctors on major TV shows, doctors going out in authors. We're integrating and leading the way in healthcare in many different fronts now. I think right now, even though healthcare, health insurance, which let's not talk and depress everybody, is in a bad way, I think chiropractic's about ready to burst wide open. I think all our tentacles and all our forces are coming together, and I'm very robust. I probably am more robust now than I was 5 years ago.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Dr. Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, MoveWell University, the Black Diamond Club, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Dr. Alok Trivedi, Universal Traction Systems, Vantage Point Marketing, Element Mattresses, Imaging Services, Zinget Solutions, Chiro Thin, Dr. Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, and Everest Chiropractic Bootcamp. Let's hustle. Yeah, I see that too, and here's a little topic I want to take like an offshoot on is you've probably seen what's going on with the opiate epidemic in our society and how chiropractic can step in, and especially you understanding functional medicine on the level that you do, you probably understand how chiropractic can really step in and be a force for that.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that Palmer Gallup did a study. 78% of Americans are looking for a natural alternative to pain medication. All the studies before this opiate epidemic came out really showed that it never did anything positive for pain for a long period of time. It was a very short-term, short-circuit type of status. But, unfortunately, I mean, I think medical doctors are great. They have great skill. But as far as pain and long-term pain, it's not their bag, man. They're a short fix, and that's what they do, and it's great. And I work with a lot of these guys, and I don't think there's anything wrong with chiropractors affiliating as colleagues with them, referring patients back and forth. But, without question, if someone wants to get healthy, and if someone wants to get healthy the natural way and wants to deal with long-term pain, chiropractic is a way. And, I believe that functional medicine has its place because we're using natural. Most people don't know what functional medicine is.
Yeah.
Basically looking at the body at a systemic way, not treating the symptoms like I said before. My mantra is don't make me put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound when a patient comes in. And that Band-Aid on a bullet wound is just don't let me cover it up, but the bullet's got lead, like the toxins in the environment. And that bullet's going to stay in there and just damage you. Let's fix it. Let's, if you will, fix the body from the inside out. And there is no profession better suited, better trained, better in line philosophically than chiropractic to do that very thing.
Yeah, and I think it's a job of poor branding, over time. I really think that the chiropractor got into that comfort zone of becoming insurance, dependent, and then they became, medical model dependent, and then they forgot how to actually talk about real chiropractic, which is above, down, inside out, and they forgot how to talk about, the three types of subluxations: physical, chemical, and emotional, and they stopped actually promoting real chiropractic, and they started chasing yellow page ads, and all they did is became pain doctors.
Agreed. And I think when they got into that insurance model, they became ICD-9, now ICD-10 code, those diagnosis codes. And again, those diagnoses were for symptoms, not systems. So I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying. I mean, we just, like you said, we just, made a mistake, went the insurance model. And again, you said branding. I'll just use the word. I don't think you messaged it right. I mean, if 8 out of 10 Americans have lower back pain, and there's 14% of the American population seeing chiropractors, something's wrong.
So, what would you say is the most important thing to happen in the chiropractic profession in the last 10 years?
You guys are going to laugh. I could give you a technique. I could give you all these breakthrough literatures. For instance, in March, the Lancet said chiropractic was the choice for lower back pain, and in theory it should be. Social media. Do you know why? It's a free method of messaging yourself. With all the things that chiropractors have done, they have that ability. Right now, we're on a phone. That ability to pick up that phone and tell people what you do, who you are, and what a chiropractor is, and the things that you in that office do and specialize in. Do you know how many times people told me when I got on, say, TV or anything like that, they go, I didn't know a chiropractor did that. I didn't know. I thought a chiropractor just did lower back and adjustment. I thought he did this. I thought he did that. I didn't know that I could go to a chiropractor for allergies. I could go to a chiropractor for this or that. They just didn't know. So you said branding, which I love. I just think we never messaged it really strong, and we just need the people that we have running like you, getting out there, allowing people to come out and message what chiropractic can do. And, the research is showing that we're the most effective at what we do, and we're the cheapest cost.
Yeah, and the outcomes are greatest, less invasive. And I always tell people that with what we do, everybody has a story inside of them. They're just waiting for somebody to ask them to tell it. And I think that that's something with the chiropractor. All of your, potential new clients or patients or practice members, all they want to do is to be told by you your story and why you can help them.
It's funny. I just read an article, and the average medical doctor listens before they interrupt the patient for 11 seconds. What to say?
And I guess this gives us a good segue into marketing strategy, since we're talking about the most innovative thing since the past 10 years is social media. So what platforms are you really leveraging to your advantage?
I use Google. I do have everybody. I'm assuming virtually every chiropractor has a website. If you have a website, you're on Google. So I do use Google. My number one social after Google is without question Facebook. I told you we're getting close to about 100,000 followers. We've been leveraging that a lot. I use a lot of Instagram and I use a lot of YouTube. What I like about all of them is they're video oriented and gives me the opportunity to describe things, tell what I'm doing, and you can also show some of the techniques that you do. For instance, I got a whole boatload of new patients when I started to talk about tinnitus. And people didn't know that chiropractors can help with tinnitus. So I think that those things that we just mentioned, and having a quality website, which is needed just so people can Google. We were talking about that before. Google works. Mm-hmm. It's the biggest search engine in the world. I think those apps are critical, but you have to sit in a room. And this is what I would say to every young chiropractor. And you have to come up with two things. What's your mission statement and what's your vision? So what inspires me, you asked me what quotes. What inspires me is, I always love a quote. Do what makes you happy. And what I do makes me happy. And then have a dream. So I'm looking at my board. I'm in my house right now, and I have a jet that's there. I don't want to own the jet. I want to be able to get to different places more efficiently so I can speak to more people and spread the word of chiropractic. And then I've got this beautiful house where I can rest one day a week at some point, and I can just get my thoughts and write. And then there's TED, because who doesn't want to get a TED and have 15 minutes where you can express an idea? And then there's Tony Robbins, because for me, he's just, we alluded to him earlier. For me, he's just one exciting guy. He's a rags to riches story. He took his check and he went to a Jim Rohn seminar. And, he was not a high school graduate. And he spent his whole check, all the money he had, to make himself better. And Tony Robbins' best line is, your best investment is in yourself. So for me, one of the best investments was chiropractic.
So which app or social media website would you say is your favorite for keeping engaged with your audience?
Well, I know Jim loves Messenger. I text. I'm a Facebook guy. I would have to say, if you're starting out now as a chiro, I think Instagram's the jam, as you guys like to say. But it's all right there in your phone, man. That is the first thing you should invest in, is buy a good quality phone and learn every app that you conceivably can. For me, it's Facebook.
So we know you're an author and you write books, but what are some of your books by other people that you like to read? And what do you like to listen to?
I got them right here, and it's too bad we don't have a picture. So believe it or not, I read books from an assortment of different things. So right now I'm reading a #1 Wall Street Journal bestseller, Donald Miller, Building a Story Brand, because, you always have to brand yourself. I got a Mark Hyman book over here, What the Heck Do I Eat? I got the Toxic Solution book over here. I've got my old adjustment book that I look at every day. And believe it or not, I got a Grey's Anatomy book. I look at an adjustment book. I look at 1 to 2 adjustments every day to review, and I always look at anatomy every day, because you can never know anatomy too well.
Yeah, man, you're a hardcore chiropractor. I love it. So do you prefer reading books, or do you ever do like the Audible thing and listen to books?
I never do the Audible thing. I like to read it, because for me, the Audible guy's just reading his book, and I like the book because I like to really get in and say, what are they trying to say? The beauty of the book is the information, but the beauty for me, it's like the Vulcan mind meld. Can I get inside that writer's head? And when I do, that's when I feel that I retain what they're trying to say. And words, it's interesting. When we speak, and I do public speak all the time, it's very forgiving. We don't have to make sentences. But when you read a book and the grammar matters, the stories begin to resonate more.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. Like, there's a different method to how you read a journalist writing to listening to how a journalist speaks. And for that, I want to segue into is, do you listen to anything? Do you listen to any podcasts, or are you just like reading books and going and around and speaking?
No, I do listen to some podcasts. I listen to yours, and I'm not saying it because I'm on here, because I reached out to you.
Nice.
So let's get it straight. I listen to Christian on Chiro Sushi. I think he's our version of, and hope he doesn't take it the wrong way, Howard Stern. I think he's incredibly entertaining, incredibly smart, and he happens to be tall. So I think he does a phenomenal job, like you do. I listen to the Tim Ferriss show. I think Tim Ferriss has, in an epigrammatic way, really shown us how to be more efficient with our time. I listen to Hidden Brain, and there's a lot of podcasts put out by functional medicine and chiropractors that I do listen to. So I definitely listen. I think it's great. I'll do that a lot when I fly. I tell you what, the great part about flying is that you're going to spend a lot of time because it's always delayed, so you get a lot of time to read and listen.
See, I'm on the other side of the fence, that I just think that everything is going to go as planned.
You didn't grow up in New York City, my man. There's always something happening.
I'm always like, show up 2 hours before the flight, and we're going to board on time, and we're going to land on time. The connector is going to be perfect. And honestly, it typically is until you go to Dallas.
That's funny, because I think when I go to Atlanta, it's bad, and then everybody else says it's Detroit or someplace like that. And they never lose your luggage either, right?
Actually, I only lost luggage one time, and it was back in 2002, I believe, and I was coming back from Amsterdam. But it's a good story. They delivered my luggage to me about a month later, and I had an umbrella attached to it as well. One of those like long umbrellas that don't fold up with like the curved handle on it. And about a month later, they delivered this bent up umbrella to my house.
That's great. That's great. Oh my gosh.
Both are true stories.
So, give our listeners some resources of where they can find your book, where can they find out more about you, how can they ask you questions?
Well, one, I'm always open to any question that they ask, so I'll give you a rundown. My book is Inside Out Health, A Revolutionary Approach to Your Body. It's an Amazon two-time #1 bestseller. You can get it on Amazon. You can check me out on Facebook and Instagram at Dr. Robert Silverman. Feel free to DM me, message me, go to my website. I do answer questions all day long. You said that we're tied to the phone. I feel it's like my leash, but it's not a problem. Every hour on the hour, I'm taking a look at it as best I can, and I have people in my office that are on it, and I will answer any questions that you have. I'll Skype you, I'll Zoom you, whatever you need for me to get the point across to help you out.
Yeah, so at this point in the interview process, I always give you the opportunity. Is there anything that we didn't ask you that you'd like to share with our audience today?
No, man, I thought you did a great job. You asked a lot of great questions, and I really appreciate it, and I'm really happy that you allowed me on. I'm hopeful that you will continue with this, and we need more advocates like you in the chiropractic profession, because, again, we need to brand and message ourselves in the best possible way that we can.
Yeah, and as you can probably tell, we enjoy doing what we do.
Yeah, you do. I see you all the time, man. I see you every day on that Keto Live, man. I just want to scream and say, MCT oil, my man.
I use the Bulletproof brand.
Oh, you love Asprey. Now, there's another guy that's worth listening to. Talk about branding.
Hey, I hear he has good coffee, too.
and if not, you could get a free cup from him if you went and hung out with him, right?
It'd probably be bulletproof.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, I personally want to thank you for coming on the show and hanging out with us today. I know we both had a lot of fun with this episode.
I appreciate it, and I hope to be on again. And to everybody out there, take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live.
Yeah, man, and we'll see you soon out there at Chiro Fest.
You got it. Look forward to it.
All right, have a good night, man.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.